Hello viewers, you're watching GW News Recap. I'm your anchor, Azin Jamir, bringing to you the top stories of the week. Let's have a look at the stories that made it to headlines. Forest authorities of Assam arrested a suspected wildlife smuggler from Halawating in Sivasagar district near the Assam-Nagaland border on Jan 3rd morning and seized leopard skin, tiger bones and pancolin scales allegedly meant for illegal trade. Nagaland recorded the highest growth in goods and services tax collection among all the states in the country, with a 37% increase during the 2025-26 financial year up to December 2025. Cigarettes and other tobacco products like pan masala are set to become expensive from February 1 after the government rolled out a sweeping overhaul of the excise duty framework, citing rising public health costs and sustained revenue erosion in the sector. The United States captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and flew him out of the country in a stunning military operation early Jan 3rd that blocked a sitting leader from office. And now the news in details. Forest authorities arrested a suspected wildlife smuggler from Halawating in Assam's Sivasagar district near the Assam-Nagaland border on Jan 3rd morning and seized leopard skin, tiger bones and pancolin scales allegedly meant for illegal trade. The accused was identified as Imchiliba Au, described by officials as a hunter from Nagaland. The operation was jointly conducted by the Halawating Forest Range and Sivasagar Forest Range based on intelligence inputs. Acting on the tip of, forest officials intercepted Au while he was passing through Amkuri Tea Estate, officials said. 2 leopard skins, tiger bones, teeth and claws, pancolin scales and other wildlife-related items were recovered from his possession. 2 other alleged members of the smuggling racket escaped during the operations, officials said, adding that efforts were underway to identify and apprehend them. During initial interrogation, Au provided information about the alleged route and network, officials said. The accused told that the birds were being brought from Nagaland and were on the way to Imphal and beyond to Nepal via Assam, the forest officials stated. Officials said the seized wildlife body parts were being transported from Tuli in Nagaland and were intended for illegal markets where they fetch high prices. The seized wildlife body parts were meant to be sold through a network that extends beyond state and national borders. This is a part of a larger organized wildlife crime syndicate. We are interrogating the accused thoroughly to get more information about the source, transit routes and final destinations of those wildlife parts. We are also looking to identify his accomplices, the officials added. The officials said action would be taken under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, which provides for imprisonment and fines for wildlife trafficking offences. The Assam-Nagaland border region has been flagged by enforcement agencies as a vulnerable corridor for wildlife trafficking due to difficult terrain, porous borders and proximity to international smuggling routes. Leopard skin, tiger body parts and pancolin scales are among the most sought after wildlife products in illegal markets, officials said. Nagaland has recorded the highest growth in goods and services tax collection among all states in the country, with a 37% increase during the 2025-26 financial year up to December 2025, according to recently released All Data GST, All India GST data, CGST Dimapur Commissionerate stated in a press note. In comparison, GST collections at the national level grew by an average of 6.8% during the same period. The strong performance comes despite the reduction of GST rates on over 375 goods and services under the GST 2.0 reforms introduced in September 2025, indicating that increased consumption has contributed to higher revenue mobilization. Officials attributed the growth to Nagaland's position as a consumer state where the destination-based nature of GST has resulted in a greater share of tax revenue occurring to the state despite its limited industrial base. The trend has significantly strengthened the state's fiscal position. The improvement has also been credited to sustained efforts to educate taxpayers and the business community on timely and ethical tax compliance, coupled with enhanced enforcement measures. Increased digitalization of tax processes has further improved transparency and simplified filing procedures, leading to better compliance levels. Cigarettes and other tobacco products like pan masala are set to become expensive from February 1, 2026, after the government rolled out a sweeping overhaul of the excise duty framework, citing rising public health costs and sustained revenue erosion in the sector. In its first major reset of tobacco taxation since the introduction of GST in 2017, the Finance Ministry has notified fresh excise duties under the Central Excise Act and the Central Excise Amendment Act 2025. Under the new regime, cigarettes will attract additional excise duties ranging from Rs 2,050 to 8,500 per 1,000 sticks, depending on their length and whether they are filtered. These duties will be levied over and above of up to 40%, pushing all the overall tax burden and in turn retail prices across categories. Long-range filtered cigarettes are expected to see the sharpest price increase as manufacturers pass on the higher tax costs to consumers. Before GST, excise duty was a key component of cigarette taxation and was revised periodically. That mechanism was effectively paused after 2017, with excise reduced to a token level and the GST compensation cess carrying much of the fiscal load. With the compensation cess now being phased out, reduced to zero across all tobacco products, the government has moved to restore excise as a specific levy alongside GST, reviving a dual tax structure that has previously been upheld by the Supreme Court of India. Alongside excise changes, GST rates on tobacco products have been rationalized. The earlier 28% slab has been removed, with products now taxed either at 18% or at a statutory ceiling of 40%, depending on the category. Smokeless tobacco products are also set to become costlier. Chewing tobacco, Jada-scented tobacco and Gutka will now be taxed under a machine capacity-based excise system introduced through the new packaging machines rules 2026. The levy will be determined by factors such as the number of the machines installed, their speed and output, and the retail sale price of the products. The United States captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and flew him out of the country in a stunning military operation early Jan 3rd that blocked a sitting leader from the office. President Donald Trump insisted the U.S. government would run the country at least temporarily and was already doing so. The action marked the culmination of an escalating Trump administration pressure campaign on the oil-rich South American nation, as well as weeks of planning that tracked Maduro's behavioral habits, including what he ate and where he slept. Maduro and his wife seized overnight from the home on a military base, were aboard a U.S. warship on their way to New York, where they were to face criminal charges in connection with a Justice Department indictment accusing them of a role in narco-terrorism conspiracy. The legal authority for the attack, which echoed the 1990 U.S. invasion of the Panama that led to the surrender and seizure of leader Manuel Antonio Noriega, was not immediately clear. The U.S. government does not recognize Maduro, who last appeared on state television Friday while meeting with a delegation of Chinese officials in Caracas. Maduro and other Venezuelan officials were indicted in 2020 on narco-terrorism conspiracy charges, but the Justice Department released a new indictment Saturday of Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, that described the regime as a corrupt, illegitimate government, fueled by a drug trafficking operation that flooded the U.S. with cocaine. Meanwhile, Delcy Rodriguez is appointed as interim president. As of now, the number of non-port strikes was 35 and the number of people killed was at least 115, according to the Trump administration. Maduro has decried the U.S. military operations as a thinly veiled effort to oust him from power. Iranians are again experiencing internet disruptions amid ongoing protests across the country as state authorities warn against foreign sabotage and organized demonstrations. Iranian authorities have shut down or slowed connectivity levels during previous rounds of protests, limiting Iranians to only a localized intranet. Internet connectivity came to a near-complete halt in mid-June for several days during the height of the war with Israel and the United States. The protests that started last Sunday among traders and salesmen in downtown Tehran have since spread to cities across the country. At least 10 people have been killed during the demonstrations. Among those killed was a young business owner in the city of Hamidan in western Iran, which has been seen several days of intense protests and the deployment of security forces. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in an address on Saturday, blamed foreign influence and said that rioters must be put in their place. The comments came after US and Iranian officials exchanged barbs after US President Donald Trump said he would come to the rescue of Iranian protesters if they were killed. Many businesses, schools, universities and government offices have been shuttered since Wednesday when the government announced a day off, citing cold weather and plans to manage electricity supply. Thursdays and Fridays are weekend days in Iran and Saturday was a religious holiday. Economic conditions have been deteriorating for years amid maximum pressure sanctions imposed by Trump in 2018 over Iran's nuclear program. Inflation stands at about 50% and has been among the highest in the world over recent years. Well, viewers, that's it for this week's news recap. And for more news like this, you stay connected to Global Window.